Okay, I got my standard Yamaha oil filter here. Put a little bit of oil on the O-ring. And start spinning it on. Come on, get in there. And it says 17 Newton meters on the torque wrench. First time I took the first filter off, I thought I was going to rip the oil cooler off. It was on so tight from the factory. There we go. One of the other things you want to do too, let me pull this plug back out a little bit. Hopefully I won't drop it in the... it's been setting out for a day or two. I added just a little bit of oil to the O-ring here. And since this is all aluminum in here, always, I can't stress enough, always push it in with your fingers until it seats. Never use a wrench until you have to torque it down. That way you keep from galling it up. Okay. I couldn't find my 1/2 inch to 3/8 drive, so I maxed out my Newton meter thing to 25, and it says 43, but 25 is fine with me. 43 has got to be a typo, and that's probably why they were having such a difficult time getting these things out. So there should be no reason at all for it to be that tight. I tried using my... I did not set them this tight when I put it back together. There's a little oil, I guess. Come on. There we go. I'm beginning to think these things corrode up in the housing, because I did not tighten them that tight when I did the last test. Still within range. So let's go ahead and empty this now. This is one of those things where the scoop needs to be on the center stand. Unplug this and pull it out, and it should be tipped it up. Between the tip and this first little notch here, and that's about where it's at on that first notch. I may have put a little bit too much in last time. Anyway, we got our handy dandy 12 millimeter. And try keep pushing it in while you turn it. Otherwise you'll get you'll kind of feel the threads flop around a couple. No, not there yet. There we go. And don't lose the little metal gasket on it, the washer. So let that drain out. That looks pretty doggone clean. That's a magnet, and I'll use that sometimes to, I've already scanned it along the bottom of the engine oil, and I didn't get any kind of metal shavings. Of course, how much I pick up since there's a lot of aluminum in there. Clean. Let that drain overnight and we'll fill everything up with fluids tomorrow. Alright, let's redo this. My first take didn't go. You've got 4 Phillips head screws that hold this cover on for the air filter, and the air filter slides out with the foam side is down, and you can see the dirtiness after 12,000 miles, and here's a brand new one you can see the difference in. There's little pads down in here that hook on the edges of the frame here, so that when you have it, you need to put it in at a slight angle, and when you do, you'll have a little gap in here, so that when you push in the cover here, it's got a couple arms. You can see the bevel right here. It pushes down on the filter and holds it in place, and then you put in the screws again and you're good to go. I also took a cloth and wiped out the inside. You'll get accumulation of a light film of oil and maybe some dirt in there that shouldn't be much dirt, not if the filter is setting in its holder correctly. But you'll get a little discoloration, which is basically the crankcase breather air coming back up and going back through the system again as part of the environmental stuff. I got to pull that screw out again. It doesn't want to go in straight. So. And just snug them down tight. And like metal into aluminum, these are metal screws going into plastic, so you want to get them down tight. I think there's a torque on it, but it's probably about 7 pounds. So there's the air filter. Because I'm pouring out of a bulk container, I'm going to do this into a modified, well, don't drop it, chopped off top. So I got my quart. Okay. It says it's, with a filter change, it's 3.07 quarts, but I usually only stick in 3 quarts. And then there's also, because I'm changing over to another type of oil, slightly different. This is, I was going from Yamalube, what was that stuff, 1015? 1040. I'm going to 1540 on the Rotella. But there's still a little bit, there's about 0.7 of a quart, around 3/4 of a quart of the old oil in. So if you're switching over from, say, regular oil to synthetic oil, you still got regular oil in there. So if you want a pure thing, then make sure your synthetic is on special, and then run it for maybe 100 miles or so, and drain it and change the filter and start all over again, just so you know you have full synthetic in it. Because the oil tank up here keeps, like I said, about 3/4 of a quart from the last oil, and I don't know why they did that. Okay, maybe fill this up 2 more times. Remember, 3 quarts. Hold up, 3 fingers. 3 quarts. I'll come back when I'm done. And you can also see the little oil line rising in here. as I've added the last of the oil. I'll let that set down a little bit before I don't know if you can see it there or not. Yeah, there you go. You can see the oil line. I think I may need to add just a little bit more, but I'm going to let it set there for a bit before I do, as I've got my 3 quarts in it. On the engine oil, it says that they got an A mark, which is down about on the bottom in here. Okay, there it is. It is etched. There's an etch mark right in here, which is A, which is minimum. And then there's another mark up here, which would be maximum, which is about the top of the window. So you can see I'm over the minimum, but I'm under the maximum, so I'm happy. And if you ever run, when you first start it up, it's always nice to take a look, and you'll see it just kind of churning around inside that window there. But we're within the marks. If you can't see any metal in behind there, you got too much in there. If you can't see any in the sight glass at all, you don't have any at all. So we got that one taken care of. Also check to make certain that you have the little rubber gasket going back in there. And sometimes I'll, just to keep them fluffy and moist, I'll put a little oil on the O-ring like you do on the oil filter gasket. Oh, come on, get in there. Plastic and metal, so be careful when you put it in that you don't cross-thread it. Now let's go put some oil in the silent chain.